Let's talk about that. This is Pastor T. Allen Stringer, and this is my PhD, my philosophical homiletical disclaimer. Theory is not necessarily truth and shouldn't ever be used as salvational doctrine. Any knowledge about spiritual things beyond soul salvation must be considered secondary information. Soul salvation is based on the work of grace, the justification gained by faith, and the personal efforts to overcome sin. For Paul declared, "For I determined not to know anything among you save Jesus Christ and him crucified. And my speech and my preaching was not with enticing words of man's wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God." Words are words and thoughts are thoughts. The only words and thoughts that matter are those which are purposed to bring salvation to the souls of men and women. Let's talk about that. When I challenged the post of Joshua Giles regarding his conference in which he was going to teach you how to develop a six-figure kingdom business with one word, nonsense, his response to me was this, laughing out loud, "Your comment makes you look like a clown. Jealous we make more in a week than you in 5 years?" So I'm a clown. Today's lesson is being taught by Pastor T. Allen Stringer, the clown, who makes less in 5 years than this Christian believer does in 1 week. I guess there's something to be said about men and women that use the platform of God's ministry to enrich themselves or to teach others how they can enrich themselves, with the backdrop being, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son." They've chosen that backdrop to express this polluted gospel that has nothing to do with saving men and women from eternal damnation. Shame on you all. These are modern day drug kingpins. Whoever pushes money using God's ministry as a backdrop is a modern day drug kingpin. At age 27, when I became pastor, as I was walking through that very small sanctuary, the Spirit whispered these words to me: "You will not prostitute my house. You will not have church to raise money. You will not prostitute my house." 36 years ago, the Lord spoke that to me, and I kept that word. So I want to speak with you for a few minutes regarding God, money, and the church. How important is money? Money means that we have a source that we could depend on that gives us access and possession of things we need, want, and desire. So when you think of money in that light, then you ask yourself, how does that compare with God, who meets our needs, wants, and desires? Paul told the church that my God shall supply all of your needs according to his riches and glory. Jesus teaches the disciples to pray, and in that disciples' prayer, he talks about them asking God for provision to give us this day our daily bread. He also says that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Money also provides life. It provides sustenance, as we often say. So what is this then in the church that we feel we need to teach about money and about prosperity, the thing that is not God, that provides for us those things that the Bible says that God also can provide. And so when I see preachers online talking about six-figure kingdom businesses, it raises my eyebrow as to what is their intent and why is God so desirous for us, according to them, to have a six-figure kingdom business. And then we go about to train people on how to create businesses and jobs, and we declare that that's the plan of God. When I look at all of this on balance, I think about how we got into this position. How did we become a being that needs to earn to have in life when the original arrangement was that was not necessary according to the book of Genesis? When you look at creation, God does not create man and it says, I'm going to provide you with the capacity to gain, to earn, to make wealth. He literally provides us with the capacity to dominate and subdue the earth, but does not put context to it as it relates to business. As a matter of fact, the idea of making a living, as we call it, came as a result of the consequence of sin. Because the Lord curses the ground for man's sake, and it says, of it you shall eat all the days of your life. You're going to sweat and toil. You're going to make, as we say, a living. So if we come from that perspective, then we can see clearly that making a living, as I always say, is a curse. It's not a blessing. It's not something that God wants us to have or to do. It's something that God commanded us to do because of a violation. Just as women, he's increasing their pain in conception. He's multiplying it. So therefore, babies are beautiful, but the process is ugly and labors under a curse. He has not lifted that. He has not lifted the curse of multiplied pain in conception, and God has not lifted the curse of earning in the sweat of our brow from a cursed place. But we have packaged it and dignified it in the house of God, as this Joshua T. Giles has done, and have declared to people under the auspices of a preacher or ministry that I'm going to teach you how to be prosperous in the curse. Just think about that for a minute. What if I were to say to a woman, I'm going to teach you how to be prosperous in the curse of having babies. I know it hurts, but I'm going to show you how to prosper in that. So you're going to have baby after baby after baby. The pain's not going to go away, but you're going to be blessed because you have many babies under that curse. Same thing with a job. So I'm going to teach you how to be prosperous under the curse of working. You're going to have money, six-figured, as he stated, kingdom business, and you're going to be blessed under the curse. Just think about that. Let that wash over you for a minute and realize that when you're laboring under a curse to get something that you need, that doesn't change the fact that it's a curse. If it were God-centered and God-blessed, then the pain would go away. The curse of multiplied pain would not exist, would it? No, it wouldn't. The problem with money is spoken of in scriptures. Jesus says you can't serve both. That is, labor under both with the same dignity and respect. One has to get it and the other will be without it. You can't worship God and mammon or money according to the teachings of Jesus. And so I find it disingenuous when preachers take to the pulpit and hold money out as being something wonderful sent from God that we should pursue because he wants us to have it. God just wants us to prosper in it. It's like saying in Genesis, when God told Adam that he would gain from a cursed place, that God really loved giving him that business plan. And now we are just carrying out the same thing. when in fact the idea of man laboring to gain under a curse was an absolute sign that God had kicked him out of the garden, that God had removed him from his presence, that God was punishing him and taking away his place of opulence, where everything was met, where all his needs were taken care of. God kicks him out, curses the ground, and you're telling me that God enjoyed that and that God wanted that to be our lot. Not so. This whole teaching of money and God in the church is misplaced. Do I believe that you can prosper in earthly things? I certainly do believe that, but that doesn't mean that it's God's idea. The idea that the church is pursuing wealth in carnal things that are gained under a cursed arrangement is ludicrous. It doesn't make any sense. And so I say to you, why would God want to bless us to labor and prosper under a curse that removes us from him in principle? Doesn't make sense to me. I tell you who it makes sense to. It makes sense to those individuals who want to make gain, who live of that and desire to have it, and want you to believe that if you labor and give to them, that God's going to bless you. It's such usury that if you labor and give to me, and I live opulently, and you struggle from day to day, that God's okay with that. That he has allowed me to fashion a gospel out of a curse and telling you that you're going to prosper because you're blessing me. Ludicrous. It's important for us to recognize that money only belongs in the house of God to meet the needs of those that minister or those that need ministering to, that have needs to help us survive the expulsion from his presence. His compassion is that he gives us the favor to survive the curse. But he doesn't give us the favor that he may write himself out of a job and that he might be replaced. He gives it to us because he's compassionate, because he's our Father. Because fathers can punish you, but still have compassion on you. He doesn't punish us as enemies. He punishes us as children. Therefore, I'll close with this. Yes, it's okay to have. And yes, God will give you favor to have. But know this, God does not intend for that to be a replacement of him. And God does not intend for you to believe that that's what this is really all about under what we call grace. The whole arrangement now is about saving ourselves from sin, saving ourselves from iniquity, saving ourselves from lost habits and lifestyles that don't please God. That's what this is about. It's not about building a six-figured kingdom business. That just sounds so terrible on the face of it. Making merchandise of you, the Bible said they would do in this day. Shame on the preacher that uses that space of influence to train people to learn how to capture the almighty dollar and how to keep laboring, because once you get it, you do know you have to labor to keep it, which is why he says you can't serve two. You got to labor to keep that money. It doesn't stay because you gained it. It stays because you maintain it. So who are you maintaining? Money or God? When you maintain money, it's about what Joshua T. Giles says, building a six-figured kingdom business. When you maintain God, it's about ministering to the lost, pulling people out of sin through a hopeful word, keeping your own self unspotted from this world. That is a full-time job. You live with you 24/7. People have problems 24/7. Helping them and ministering to them in those spaces where their minds and their hearts are hurting is a full-time job. When do I have time to chase the dollar, to prop it up, to infuse it with more, to double it, to secure it? That takes a lot of time and effort because God said it would. Hence, in the sweat of thy brow, meaning the abundance of labor, you are going to maintain your needs. When he said that to Adam, he said, you're going to eat of it. He didn't say prosper from it. You're going to eat of it because food was the essential. Your basic needs are going to be met through toil under the curse. We have somehow fashioned this into the idea of prosperity and have attached God to it and says that God desires this for us. If God desired it for us, then he would have removed the curse of it. And Jesus would never have taught concerning it. Paul would have never stated, for the love of money is the root of all evil. God, money, and the church. We need to recognize that money has its place, but it can never and shouldn't ever replace God in our lives or the things that he requires of us as people of God, as salt, as light. Money and the church. Let's talk about that with Pastor T. Allen Stringer, the clown.